Thunder from Down Under is here.
How are you, buddy?
Good, my man.
Are we live? We're not live yet.
We are live, man. You know, there is no filter with the JamCast here for everybody who is watching. This is my buddy, Nick Jones, the Thunder from Down Under that you saw. Remember the video of the pina colada, man?
Damo, you know how much feedback I get from that? Actually, you know, I had a surprise 50th. So a friend of mine that used to follow us, Mikey Lee. Mikey's a very popular personal trainer here in Sydney. He does a lot of contest prep. He used to love our videos, right?
And then we're back.
I had a surprise 50th party, right? My wife, she surprised me. I didn't even know. I've turned up. The first thing I hear was my little friend Mikey that used to watch our videos. Nicola Jones, the Thunder from Down Under. So that's still, mate, I'm still reminded all the time. All the time, man. He loved our videos, Jamo.
I know, man.
You did one with Vesela with the Lenny Kravitz wig. That was hilarious. I have to bring it back.
But for people who are watching, thank you for being here with us for our first podcast. Thank you to them. Thank you to you for coming here. We're going to do some cool stuff here. And you know the stupid thing about those days, right? You know why? I freaking shut down the whole thing because I didn't understand the haters. Imagine we kept going. That was 14 years ago when YouTube just opened.
2006, Jamo, was the first time we filmed together after the Muscle Mania. 2006. When you had the whole Jam Core crew, you know, when you had the surfers workouts and the soccer workouts and the teenage workouts. Remember the teenage boy with the abs? And
yes, bro. It was
cool, man. There was so much good stuff, Jamo.
You know, but it was so well ahead of its time. That's why we couldn't do shit. You know, like those days, just the bandwidth would cost you like $2,000 a month. Just use the bandwidth. Man, the bandwidth is free now. It's great.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I remember back then, Jamo, you had a publicist. Your publicist was driving you around LA.
And then
LA for the first time. I've seen you there in, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years since I've been there. And I'm like, what's Jamo? He's blown up here. He's got publicists. What's going on?
And then 6 months later, I was bankrupt, man. I lost everything. I lost everything, man. Freaking I ended up losing the house. I was living with a client of mine in the room. And then because it was crazy, but then, man, I came back, bro.
Always.
This is why we're here. We want to inspire people with our experience, the things that we've done. We're going to invite some really cool people or some pros. We're going to talk about nutrition training, Mr. Olympia. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to share the 411, the real McCoy, like we said back in England. So how you been, man? You got COVID?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. So for anybody that's watching this in time, it's what's it, the 11th of January here in Australia. It's the 10th over there, right? It's Monday over there.
Yeah, he's in Australia. I'm in La La Land. Yeah,
it's Tuesday morning. I don't know what to say about Australia at the moment, but yeah, certainly I got it at New Year's. I don't know. They say it's the Omicron strain, but I don't know, but what I do know is it was. I'm glad I've got it. I'm glad I've got it.
You're cool now. Everyone that gets COVID is cool now. You know.
I'm good, man. I've built the antibodies. Thank God. I've got a good immune system and health. And you know, it's funny, Jamo. Now at 50, you know, you're into your 50s as well now. What we learned from bodybuilding, I feel that we're really able to apply now in our lives to live a really healthy, touch wood, a very healthy, strong life, you know, with an abundance of energy and an abundance of well-being and a good mindset. And bodybuilding gave us so much of what we can really use now, and it's really productive now. I'm finding that I get more benefits from bodybuilding now than I did, you know, when I was over 100 kilos and traveling the world competing in the Mr. Universe and the World Championships. I get the juice now. Now I get the good stuff from it, you know.
You get the juice.
So I'm healthy.
Be careful. Very, very specific what kind of juice you get. All this said, it's going crazy with bodybuilding right now. What do you think, man? We're going to talk a little bit about everything. We're going to talk in general. Nick Jones will be here with me every week if he can make it. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. We're going to be analyzing the Mr. Olympia, talk about physiques, nutrition, training. But bodybuilding right now, it's all over the place, man.
Well, it's certainly evolved, Jamo, since we were competing. In saying that, has it evolved in a good way? It's evolved in a good way for business, and it's evolved in a good way that so many more people are able to practice such a great lifestyle. You know, I guess back in our time, after work, it was customary probably for the majority, especially in the UK, to go to the pub after work. You know, I think now in the younger demographic, now it's more customary or very customary these days to go to the gym after work for a lot of the young people, which is a hell of a lot better than going and drinking alcohol in the front bar. But it's evolved in a way that's very, very good for business, personal training, gyms, supplement companies. It's evolved that way. The physiques, I think it's great that they've created so many more categories, Jamo. You know, because in our day, it was just because it makes it more accessible for consumers.
For business is good for you, but for bodybuilding itself, it's all over the place. You know that. I don't have to tell you this.
It is all over the place. But something had to happen, Jamo, because it's just like, as it was becoming more and more and more of a freak show. I mean, you and I were inspired, talk for myself here. I was inspired by physiques like Frank Zane, and I started competing in the late 80s when Haney was still Mr. Olympia before Dorian became Mr. Olympia.
Started at the same time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but
what year did you start training? What year did you start training? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, I was 15. So, mate, that would have been 86, maybe.
Dude, you started training before me, bro.
I was 15 years old. But again, I was training at a little fitness center, Jam. I wasn't exposed to bodybuilding. I had never even seen a bodybuilder by that stage, apart from Arnold in the movies. And I thought Stallone was a bodybuilder.
I didn't even know who Arnold was when I started training.
Really?
Yeah, serious, dude. I was 1987.
TV in Algeria. Did you guys running water in your village? Electricity, running water?
I was lifting. I was lifting camels, bro.
Well, that's how progressive overload started, right?
Do you know what's so funny about people when you tell them you're from North? When you tell them I'm from North Africa, they go, well, "How comes you're not black?" And then you go, "Well, because we are, that kind of Arabs, a little bit of mix of Arabs and other breeds." They go, "Oh, so we live in the desert. There you go those camels, man, with some camels." Do you remember the story of the camel dying in the bank?
No.
When I was wiring money to my mother. I never told you the story, right? Oh, dude. No. So I used to wire money here, but 20 years ago. You go to the bank and then you line up and you give her money and then she wires the money. And one day I went up to her and I was like, and she was so sweet. That tell her, she I don't know what was her name, Paula. I was like, Paula, she didn't get the money, you know that. She didn't get the money. Man, she goes, I'm so sorry. I swear to God, I wired it. I said, the camel died. The camel died. She goes, what? I said, I'm so sorry. I said, you couldn't feed the freaking camel. He died. And the woman, I looked at her, she goes, poor camel. I said, yes. Anyway, I thought I told you this story. Anyway, so Nick. So Nick Jones, he's the owner of GenTech Nutrition, man. I'm going to do a little shameless plug, bro. GenTech Nutrition is, for me personally, the purest form of ingredients, some of the purest, best supplements I've ever had. Seriously, till now, I always use your supplements when I'm training. And you are a big believer in amino acids and the use of them. Actually, you told me a lot of stuff. So how is it going with business? What's been going on with you?
Well, business is good. It's great at the moment because I'm on holiday. It's fantastic. It's the best time. It's always the best time.
You're working from home?
No, I'm in the office now. I've just come into the office I'll come in today and tomorrow and do a little bit of work and then go down the coast with my family for 2 weeks. Go and lay on the beach and relax.
Yeah, it's summertime in your place, right? It's summertime.
Summer here. It's beautiful. It's 30-something degrees outside. My office is near the beach here.
Are you allowed to go to the beach or you have to swim with your masks on?
Jamo, don't get me started here, man.
Well, I don't want to even go there because we don't want to depress the people watching. but whatever is going on there, I mean, it's like they just keep everything under the cover, bro.
I don't know if you have any Serbian listeners, but if you have any Serbian listeners, I feel like celebrating with you because Djokovic,
yeah, he's got
God bless him. God bless him. He dug his heels in. He did all the right things, and he fought the government. He went to court with the government yesterday and won. He won. He beat the government.
Of course,
he beat the government.
Bro. Of course, he will win. Of course, you know why? Because he's Djokovic, bro.
He had enough money, but no. But I mean, it was he did everything. He did everything that was asked of him to do. So Tennis Australia run this big Grand Slam, the Australian Open. They were obviously in touch with Djokovic, or probably more likely his agent, and they gave him direction on all of the documentation he needed to complete. They completed it all. They submitted it all. It was all correct. So Tennis Australia said, yep, you're free to come. You've done it all. It's all good. He came into the country and they held him at the airport, detained him in an interrogation room for 8 hours at the airport. And then they revoked his visa and put him in a quarantine hotel. It's like probably a 2 or 3 star hotel. And they had him locked up in this hotel and he couldn't leave. They said, you can go back or you quarantine. You have to stay in this hotel like a prisoner. So he stayed in there until he could get his QCs together, his lawyers, and they went to court and he won. He did everything. Apparently the judge was very annoyed and said, what else do you want this man to do? He's done everything he's been asked to do. He filled out the applications. He did everything that he was asked to do.
Why do you think they did that? Because they want to make an example of him?
I don't know. This could be a rabbit hole thing as well, but hopefully it was just that, to make an example of him, because there was a couple of other players that came in with the same documentation completed and the same exemption, and they were allowed in. One of the players actually played a match. She had already played a match. I think a Russian competitor. She's played a match already. Then she's been deported now. She came in under the same exemption but got in. So they've made an example of him to some degree where they're just incompetent. They've let some others through, some other players, professional players.
Right.
Those 2 players that got deported didn't have the money that Djokovic has got to fight it legally. But he's done it legally. He's not paid anyone off. He's done it legally. And
so do you think he's gonna take some money from the Australian government now?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They have to pay his legal costs because they created it. And there's so many people, so many Australians that are hating on Djokovic and saying he's this rich kid and, he comes just because he's got money, he's bought his way into the country.
He did
all the right things, Jamo. He did all of the right things. And let me tell you something and be very clear about it. His money was good when he donated to the bushfires 12 months ago. He gave our country $25,000 for the bushfire sufferers 12 months ago. So his money was okay then, Jamo.
I know. So listen,
I get upset with the haters, mate. I get upset.
I know, but don't worry.
I shouldn't even read it.
Hey, dude, you have to change the subject because here's why we need to change the subject, because the situation of the COVID and the pro-vax, the anti-vax, is a subject that will tickle a lot of clits all over the world. If you know what I mean? So we just have to I just ignore. I don't watch TV. People come here. I said, I don't want to know. Just leave me. Says this shit hit the fan, bro. I was just here, isolated in my gym, doing my business, working. I don't want to get into it with people. You want to be vaccinated, you go ahead. You don't want to be vaccinated, you go ahead. Just leave me out of it. Leave me out of it. Do you know what I mean? Yep. Because it's a waste of energy that you need to put towards the thing that will make you move and evolve in life, man.
Yes. Be better. Correct. 100%. I agree.
Because you can just watch how people are behaving on Facebook, and it's just so childish and too many sheeps, and there's no shepherds. Anyway, going back to training and nutrition. So, so you competed not that long ago. How long ago you competed? Like a couple of years? What, a couple of years ago, right? 2 years
in March. Yeah, I made a bit of a comeback. I'd had 10 years off.
And you were thinking about making one. I was like, man, just come the F down, dude. You start getting excited, bro. So. So you looked great, though. You looked great. You looked very good. You did classic physique, and then you wanted to go to Brazil to compete. I was like, just come down now. That's it. You have nothing to prove. Sit down, sit back. Because this is the problem with bodybuilding. For all the people who are watching us right now, we're gonna talk about this more. We're gonna give you everything behind what goes on mentally, physically. The problem with bodybuilding, if you're not careful, even it could have happened to you too, you know, because I had to say, hey, because we say to each other. I remember when you saw me like doing a video, and I was like, well, what do you think? I look good. I was looking good, actually. I was in shape. He said, dude, don't pause. I said, Jam, don't do any pauses. I said, all right, I don't do any pauses. Same thing with you. You know, you're trying to compete again, and you're like 50, close to 50. And I was like, dude, why? Waste of time, energy, and money going all over the place, stressing. You're going to be taking drugs, obviously. The drugs that when you take drugs and you're young, you can recover, but when you're old, you're so freaking screwed, man. You could die. Even with a little bit, you could die.
Yeah.
You are in the best position to talk about this because for everyone who is watching, Nick Jones was the most organized, better than me, the most organized, disciplined bodybuilder I've ever met in my life. One of them. Oh, no, you are the only one, actually. I didn't meet many because I was in muscle works. They're all fucked up. Yeah, you're fucked up.
But it was so good. It was so good, though.
They're so good, but they're not organized. Just train, eat, take drugs, and just train. But you, bro, when you start taking your supplements, you have your books, you have your drugs, you knew everything what you were doing with your body. You know, you didn't take a lot of drugs. You were you did everything to the T. There's no one day. I remember when I moved to Australia. Actually, just for the people who are watching, I moved to Australia in 1996, one of the worst mistakes of my life. I wasted a freaking year and a half of my life in my career chasing pussy like an idiot. But, you know, you learn from this. But the best thing that ever happened to me was meeting you. Because if I didn't go to Australia, I would have never met you. Because I met you in Australia, right? That's where I met you.
Well, I thought about it last night. The kids asked me, how long have you known Jamo? It's 25 years, bro, we've been friends.
Yes, but I met you in Australia for the first time because you were working for Musashi, and I was there for the first time. I enjoyed the 6 months that I stayed there, but because and I had a great time, you know what I mean? And leaving with my tail between my legs like an idiot, lost everything, and I came back to London. Meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. And look, we stayed brothers till that.
I know, man.
Day.
I know, it's been a long time.
But since I've met you, you've always been so organized, and I saw you going through the Mr. Universe. And then after that, you used to come to London and spend time with me every year when I was competing, getting ready to get my pro card and shit. So you went through it with me, and I went through it with you too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy how time went by so fast. You know what I mean? And you kept competing even after I moved to America. You kept competing. You did Muscle Mania. You used to come and visit me here, and our friendship got stronger and stronger, and we got closer and closer with everything. You know?
Yeah. It's been a long time, bro, and it's been an interesting journey, hasn't it? It's been a really interesting journey, and things evolve. We evolved. It's the nature of things, right? And I guess we're lucky we're in a position now where we can do this, and we can hopefully impart some knowledge and some protocols as well. You know, teach people how to supplement, how to train, how to eat to achieve their goal. You know, and the goal that goal, as we know and we found out, the goal will change and evolve over time. But bodybuilding gives you so many tools, physical and mental and spiritual as well. If you do evolve with it, if you
bodybuild the proper way. What I mean by that, don't spend your life eating just chicken and asparagus and taking drugs and sleeping, because you're not going to get shit out of it. They have to have something always to fall back on, have a business, and do it together. Because at the end of the day, and you know that, the reason we succeeded is because we've never been this type of people who always just ate, train, and slept. Especially you. Me, I got into the business after getting my pro card. This is where I got my pro card, and I came to America, and I saw there was nothing for me. And then I got my pec tear, and I was like, you know what, I got to do something with my life now. And I had to build up a career, build up my business, and just evolve to where I am right now. You know, I remember you when you did your first supplements. It was a weight gainer, right?
With Gentech, the first two products were creatine and glutamine with Gentech.
I think, and you told me before I left, you were thinking about doing, I think you were working with Musashi, and then you told me, Jam, I'm just thinking about doing my supplements. I said, go, man, do it. And you did it, and you built it now to a freaking big, huge company. I love your supplement.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Thanks, man.
I love your line because you're honest. It's not because you're my friend and I'm sucking you off here. No, there's nothing to do with that.
No. It's about quality. You're the GenTech consumer, Jamo. So the GenTech consumer, it's not the young guns that are just getting into training. They will get the more highly publicized and more exciting new young brands that are all over social media. But our consumers for GenTech are usually consumers that have been around the block a few times. They know a thing. You've used a lot of supplements. You've tried a lot of products. And they're the consumers. Once they start using GenTech, they realize and they feel and they notice the difference in quality, and they keep using it. That's been the secret to our success, has been quality. The hard thing with that, Jamo, is it's very expensive. If I'm using, say, the CreaPure creatine out of Germany, it's 3 times the price of the cheaper Chinese product. Not 30% more, 3 times the price. So when you use high quality, it's very, very hard to make money.
Exactly, but listen to this. I'm kind of disappointed with the German, you know that.
Oh, why?
Sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that's right.
I was in France. I was in a tour doing some seminars, and I was sitting in this gym with this lady. She's you know, the type of person that every company wanted to work with them.
Yes.
She was working with Cytec.
Okay.
She remember Cytec? Yeah, you know Cytec.
Yes, yeah.
She just left them and she didn't want to work with them anymore. She was taking vacations. She makes a lot of money, this woman. She's from Hungary. She's such a sweet girl. And this guy brought her, he works with her. He said, I want you to meet Jam. She said, oh, yeah, I see him on the video, is the funny one. It's like hey, bring her. So she comes in.
It's a funny man.
Yeah. They all know me because she understands French, you know. She knows the funny dude, you know. I was like, okay. So she comes in, she's sitting next to me, you know. She's kind of cute. So I'm talking to her and she's like, yeah, you know, and she started telling me all the ins and outs. And I said, listen, I was really thinking about doing the supplements, and I was telling her about the idea that I was telling you about, you know, the weight gainer, get a weight gainer that you can make pancake with. She's like, oh my God, that's a good idea. I said, did anybody make this? She said, no. I said, come on. It's like, guys, if you watching, it's like, Nick, I think, Nick, you should do it, man. It's like make a weight gainer, okay, to put on size, that with the same powder, you can make protein pancakes. One product, that's 2. Yeah. And then I started talking, and then we started talking about all the sources, the material. I said, does the German still have the best creatine? She goes, because they do the best creatine, because every creatine that is produced in Germany is the best. She goes, so what do you mean? She said, even the German now, the creatine that they sell, not all of it is manufactured in Germany. They outsource China.
Yeah. It's funny that there's only one source of German creatine that I'll use. It's the CreaPure branded product. It's from a company called Alzchem. So Alzchem, they're so fastidious. They're really hardcore about their rules and regulations and what you can and can't do and can and can't say about their product and their raw material. Right. So I don't import it directly. I've got an importer that imports all sorts of raw materials from all over the world. They get the cheap Chinese creatine, they get amino acids from Europe, amino acids from China, all over the place, amino acids from South Korea. South Korean stuff's good, actually. I use a glutamine from South Korea. Beautiful. But the Alzchem, the company that manufactured the CreaPure, it is still the gold standard. It is still the best creatine, but it comes from one company.
Can you tell them what makes a creatine a good creatine? Tell them. That way they can learn.
Ultimately, but with creatine and all of your amino acids, that really the difference between a great quality raw material, whether we're talking about tyrosine, leucine, isoleucine, valine, glutamine, creatine, it's the quality of the raw material, yes, that it's made from, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is the processing. And the processing, if it's a cheap, fast process, the end product, the raw material, will still have a lot of impurities. And it's these impurities that will overload the liver, overload the kidneys. And you know, you want to take supplements that are going to make you healthier, stronger, better, recover better. You don't want to take supplements that are high in impurities that are going to overload the liver and be another stress on the body. That's not what you want. And again, there's a big difference in pricing between high quality amino acids, high quality creatine and the cheaper, quickly manufactured, high impurity product. And which quality are you getting from the brand that you use? Like all brands, we don't produce our own amino acids. We don't produce our own creatine. We don't produce our own proteins. I think Glanbia that own Optimum are the only ones that produce their own proteins.
I heard that, yeah.
They've got their own cows, right? They started as a dairy company in Ireland, very massive company, huge company. But like all of the others, apart from Glanbia, we don't produce any of our raw materials. We buy them in. We source them from different countries around the world. And I'm fastidious about the quality of them. Now, how does that translate? How do you know as a consumer you're using the best quality whey proteins, the best quality caseins, the best quality plant proteins, the best quality amino acids? The fact of the matter is you don't know. You don't. What are you going to, what? They're just going to tell you. I mean, the brand's going to tell you, we use the best quality. I say it. I source and use the best quality raw materials I can source.
Can't you get like...
all the raw materials come with a certificate of analysis.
That's it. That's what I was looking for.
So the certificate of analysis, again, yes, it helps. You can see the difference with obvious impurities are those like arsenic, mercury, heavy metals. They're obvious impurities. So that's really all you can look for on the C of A, certificate of analysis, to know that it's good quality. So ultimately, the best thing about CreaPure, the thing that makes it so good, ultimately, really, is it has such low impurity levels. And that just comes down to the processing and more filtration. Right. So the more filtration that material goes through in processing, the more filtration, the better. But of course, that takes time and money. Right. Costs more in machinery, takes more time for that process to happen. So it costs more at the end of the day. But you get a product that is low in impurities, that is not overloading your liver. It's really what the product doesn't do that makes it good quality. It doesn't overload your liver and make you sick. It doesn't put an extra stress on your body. You want a clean, low impurity ingredient for your body.
Remember the old days of taking creatine when it came out? How much? What's the most creatine you took? And I tell you what's the most I took?
Probably 50 grams a day would have been the most I took. And then probably, but more than that, free-form aminos. And back then, it was a lot. 50 grams of aminos when I was dieting, and I was full and I was hard, Jamo. Hard and full. And it wasn't the drugs. There were guys taking drugs all around me, more drugs that I was competing against. But the amount of amino acids and creatine I took,
my best shape, 1994, was creatine. One of the last 2 weeks, I remember I was taking the Musashi aminos between meals, and dude, the condition was just freaking crazy. Creatine, I was like,
if you turned pro in 94, you would have done something as a pro. You would have done something before the pec tear at that time.
Dude, my situation being a pro, I should have moved to America earlier in my career. I would have moved to the Olympia faster, because I think my physique wasn't appreciated by the British judges, because Dorian Yates did set up the standard of the big mass monster. So Dorian Yates left that level of conditioning and size and big waist and just stocky dude, right? And I think if I went to America earlier, I would have been at the Olympia a long time ago, beating Milos, beating everybody with them. But it's
because you were similar to Milos. That's what I said back in the day. Your physique was most similar to Milos, but your upper body was better. Your upper body was much better than Milos.
Yeah.
He probably had a little bit better quads. He had a bit better quads, but like beautiful sweep on his quads he had. But your upper body was you had a better physique. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, man. Yeah, you would have done something. You would have done something as a pro back in the 90s.
But you know, if you look back at it, you know, because I think there's many things that I did wrong. Obviously, that these things made me the person I am today, not to make the same mistakes. One of the first thing I did wrong was stop training with JD, because we had an argument. You know, me and JD, we had an argument. I was getting a lot of attention.
I'd like to have been a fly on the wall.
No, because I was getting attention.
My level was about 20 times the level of a normal bear.
No, man, me and JD, me and JD and Dennis. Remember Dennis? Dennis was crazy. Dude. I think if I stayed with JD, I would have freaking leaving, because as soon as I started getting attention from the magazines that I was going to California and everything, I started getting a lot of haters, you know, and me being me. You know, I wasn't like today, you know, I was very freaking fired up, you know. So I left muscle works, I went to muscle limits. And then I started training, but the training wasn't as hard. I still put on size and everything, but I wasn't in the same state of mind like I was when I was with JD. And I told him, you know, later on, I told him, you know. And the second thing that destroyed my career, not destroyed, because I had a pretty good career, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what it was? What it was? Tell me. Can you guess what it was? You know me, bro.
Well, your pec tear is the obvious one, but
yeah, the pec tear. But pec tear came later on.
Coming to Australia. Coming to Australia is when you went soft. It was after that.
It's the girls, bro. Women. Women was my kryptonite, dude. My freaking do you know when you take drugs? What happened to you when you take drugs?
Yeah, your libido.
Very emotional. Yeah, libido, but you get also emotional. You never understand why we were emotional. You just freaking cry for nothing. You freaking go nuts. You want to fight everybody and shit, you know? Me, when I was taking drugs, it was like freaking man. I felt the need to always have a woman with me. And I loved, you know me, I loved hot chicks. You were always surrounded by freaking hot chicks. So women, I was like a hotel room, bro. My heart was like a hotel room. Anybody can come in, you know? So like an idiot. So as soon as with Debbie, remember the one I went to Australia. Then Debbie went with the Brazilian. Brazilian was crazy. She's a Brazilian woman. She was crazy.
I remember. She was crazy. I remember.
And then spending that crazy, I think that Brazilian woman destroyed my career. I was fine when I came back from Australia. I was getting ready. And then as soon as I met that girl, I was out. Dude, it's women, dude. I'm blaming our women. It was for me because drugs. Now I don't smoke. I never drank alcohol in my life. But I love women, dude. I think that was one of the reasons. But all this said, I think for the guys who are watching or competing in bodybuilding it's a freaking weird sport, bro, because we take drugs, and then when we take drugs, we start acting like freaking bunch of idiots. It's very rare that you find somebody that acts freaking normal and bodybuild, unless he's super focused. The only two person that comes to my mind that were focused, one of them lost his freaking mind as soon as he retired. That's Dorian Yates. Because when he was focused, but the only person that is freaking like this, like a freaking machine, freaking, I hate him for being like that. You know who? I'm gonna have him here. Jay Cutler, dude.
Oh, really?
Jay Cutler, dude, he's like a freaking machine, man. From day one, he's freaking focused. He's like, boom, like that.
He knows what he wants. He knows what he wants, and he just
dude. And Ronnie.
Oh yeah.
I already have 9 kids, though. He loved women too, but he has 9. You know, he has 9 kids. So I think, or we share this with you because I know there's some guys who are bodybuilding are into relationships with girls, and the best tip I can give you guys: don't date freaking women bodybuilder, chick be like bikini chicks and all this shit. They're freaking hot, they're nice, but they drive you crazy, bro. I remember the first girl I had when I started competing and getting into bodybuilding. Her name was Sarah. She wasn't into bodybuilding. She was an actress. She was so funny, dude. You know, the English girl, hilarious, dude. I used to have a great time with this girl. You know, she loved what I did, but she wasn't like head over heels. She didn't even train, bro. She didn't even train. She goes and train, go on the bike a little bit, and then she goes, I'm going home. She goes, all right, see you later. Order me a curry. Well, order me a curry, you know? And she was great. And then as soon as I started getting into the bikini girls and the freaking models, it was over, bro. But you too, you had your share. You would date well. You had some. You had
yeah. But I've got a tip because I was thinking when you were talking about bodybuilding and the way to approach your bodybuilding. I've got a tip. The biggest thing with bodybuilding is something to be mindful of always, because like you say, it's so easy to fall into the trap when you start taking juice and you want to compete, and especially with social media now, it's just it gets very narcissistic very, very quickly, especially these days. We were lucky we didn't have social media. But the thing with bodybuilding that I'd like to share is it should improve your life. Doing your bodybuilding, the food that you eat, the training that you do, the mindset that you have, it should improve your life. And yes, Jamo, we were very obsessed because you needed to be obsessed to reach the development and the success that we did have with competitive bodybuilding. But it still improved our life. We got to travel the world. We got to meet great people.
Oh yeah, I'm not. That's
a lot about ourselves. We got to learn.
Got to meet you, man. I got to meet you, and we met.
That's right. That's right. So bodybuilding should improve your life. When it gets to the point where you're eating chicken and rice, 4 times a day, and you're having oatmeal and egg whites for breakfast, and train, eat, sleep. That's all you do. Your friends invite you out and say, no, I can't. I've got to stay home and have my chicken and rice at 8:30 p.m. And then I've got to have my egg white omelette at 10:30 p.m.
We were never like this.
As soon as it gets to that, yeah, before a contest, you knuckle down and you get focused, and you do have to be very, very disciplined when you're getting ready for a contest, but it should improve your life. And something when you compete, when you do a competition, there's another really important thing that I think with competitive bodybuilding. Once you have done that show, once you've spent 16 to 20 weeks dieting and preparing, and you have sacrificed some friendships and some social events and holidays, and you've sacrificed to do the show, as soon as you compete, you need to reward yourself, and you need to reward the loved ones around you that have supported your grumpy dieting ass for the last 4 to 5 months. So you need to reward yourself after a show, whether that's a short holiday, whether it's going to a nice hotel and taking your woman out for dinner, and or meeting up with your friends and having a celebratory dinner, and pay for them, thank you for your support and your love throughout my journey. I know I was an asshole. I was dieting, and I know I knocked you back for your birthday dinner, and I knocked you back going for drinks, and I knocked you back for that social occasion because I had to train and get up early and train legs. So I think it's so important once you compete and you've achieved and ticked that box off of doing that show, get lots and lots of photos, do all the photo shoots. You taught me that. You taught me to get photos when you compete, get as many photo shoots as you can when you compete. Once that's done, you reward yourself. You have a holiday. You take your partner away. You go out for dinner. You reward yourself before you get back into the gym and start preparing for next year's competition.
Actually, that's the best phase of it all. It's like when you finish everything. I remember doing the show, then I had to stay in shape for the shoots in California. I used to come in, it spent like 3 weeks to have to stay in shape. And because if you're not in shape, they're not going to shoot you. If you hold water, they're not going to shoot you. Yep. So you have to stay in shape. And then when everything is over and done, then you go back home, and then it's time to relax. We used to go out and have fun.
Jamo, can you tell me about, because you taught me this thing about getting shoots, because these days, because people have social media, bodybuilders have social media, everyone does lots and lots and lots of shoots. If not with a photographer, they're doing videos, training, and their friends are taking photos of them in the gym and so forth. But back then, you used to compete in the EFBB, which is the IFBB in the UK. You used to compete in the British, right? As an amateur, you used to place top 3 in the heavyweight year after year after year. But you would then fly to LA to do photo shoots with the top photographers for the magazines. So your listeners now won't get this, because back then, Jamo, especially in England, like you say, Muscle Works and the hardcore British bodybuilding scene, you compete and then you go out and have a junk meal, and then you go back to the gym and start training. No one did photo shoots for the magazines. None of the British bodybuilders went and got on. How many covers did you have? Like 30-something covers of...
Over 20, 24.
And these are the top international bodybuilding publications. So these days, if these were around, I'd say the majority of competitors these days, or the majority of people that go to a gym that love bodybuilding and train for bodybuilding, their goal over and above winning a Mr. Olympia would be to be on the cover of an international magazine. You're on the cover of over 20 magazines, Jamo, top international.
20, 24. But you know how it started, right?
You were the first guy to do it. So tell me, why did you do it? Because you were the one that taught me to do this. You compete, you said, bro, come to LA and do shoots. And of course I did. And you hooked me up with David Paul. And
he passed away, man.
I know, Ralph DeHaan.
I was so shocked when he passed away. I was talking to him like 2 days, like yesterday and 2 days later.
We had some funny times. You introduced me to him. We had some funny times with David and Peter Paul.
Man. But going back to your questions, how it started.
Yeah.
So me ending up in California was just destiny. I remember I used to read these French magazines. In 1994, I was getting for the Southeast to qualify for the nationals, right? And this is where I took like a year. I took 3 years off training with JD, and I put on like 30 pounds, dude. I was freaking so thick and big, man. So I sent them some pictures. Just go, hey guys, I read your magazine. I've always been a fan.
Who did you send pictures to? Who?
French magazine in France, in Paris. called Le Monde du Muscle, the world of bodybuilding. And that is what got me into bodybuilding when I was living in Algeria. So what I did, I took this picture and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to send them these pictures and thank them for all the knowledge that I learned from them to reach my goal. And just, I'm about to turn pro. So here's my physique, dude, they flipped. They sent me, like those days that they send you, it was letters, you send a letter and you got a letter.
Really? Yeah, it was before the internet. Yeah.
They sent me a letter and they gave me the number. I said, please call us. And I was like, I called them and I was talking to the editor-in-chief of the magazine who was like, I was like, wow, I'm talking to that guy. He goes, Jamo, man, please, we want to shoot you for the magazine. Please, can you come to Paris? And I was like, yeah, sure. What, shoot me for the magazine? So me, Dennis and his brother, we went to Paris. We took the train and they shot me for the magazine and it was a huge interview. They put me there and I never thought of it much,
This is 94 after the Southeast or before it, or before the Nationals?
After 94, after the Southeast.
Okay.
Yeah, after the Southeast. After the Southeast.
You're in good shape. You were still in contest shape?
Oh, yes. Dude, man of thick. This is the video actually that Louis Vick took and used in California in SPN Muscle Flex in SPN. That was
I didn't see the show. Was it a show that Louis Vick had?
Yes. This is how Louis Vick, found out about me. So I go and shoot. I come back to normal training. One day I wake up. It was a month later. I wake up and I get this letter from America, and I opened it. Okay, and it's Irving Gelb from Muscle Mag going like, man, you're going to be the next Mr. Olympia. I would love to shoot you. My name is Irving Gelb. I shoot for magazines all over the world, Muscle Mag, Muscle and Fitness. I would love to shoot you. Please call me. And I called him and I was like, yeah. He goes, Jamo. I said, man, he was so nice. So he invited me. I'm looking at Deep and I was like, shit, I'm going to go to California. She goes, yes, Jamo. We go to California. Debbie was crazy. So I go to California like 95.
Yeah.
I landed there after the British, I remember. And Irving, just the best picture I took of him. But then this is what I learned. It's how I told you what I learned. Me, like an idiot, started taking pictures. Then Rick Schaff sees me, takes pictures. Jason Maris takes pictures. And then meet Paul Dillett. I'm in Gold's. I go and see Joe Valdez, who meets me, and Joe Valdez. You know who Joe Valdez is? The old guy.
No, who's Joe Valdez? Who's that?
He was a legend in bodybuilding. He's the old guy who taught. He was a judge, NPC judge. He's the one who taught Bob Paris how to pose, flex, sweep.
Posing coach. Yeah, you told me. Yes.
Coach, Rory Ledmeyer. It's actually video for the guys. There's a video here in my channel. If there isn't, I'll post it. There's a video of me and him teaching me how to pose. Anyway, got the story.
I saw that video years and years ago. Yes.
So I was shooting, dude. I was shooting with, and see this old guy come with the cane. He came in like this, and he's just waiting like this. And I'm just because he's so sweet. He looks like a Santa Claus, dude. Seriously, dude. He looks like Santa. And you cannot keep looking at him like this. He's like, dude, he's a kind of cute old man, Seriously, dude. So I finished the shoot, and he didn't want to bother me. As soon as I finished the shoot, I'm just putting my clothes. He came up to me and he goes, good evening, Jamo. And I was like, you know me? I said, good evening. He goes, I drove 2 hours just to meet you. I was like, what? He goes, yes. I was like, well, thank you. And then he goes, you have a beautiful physique. And I was like, well, thanks. And then he goes, can you take your shirt off? I said, yeah, sure. Because can you do double biceps for me? And I was like, okay. So I hit it. He goes, no. Do this, do that. And I did it. Wow. And I was like, he said, look now, look at your pec. Pec has to drop. Look at your waist. Your waist. And I was like, wow. It goes, oh my God. I said, thank you. I said, can you teach me more? He goes, of course. This is why I'm here. And he goes, I said, abdomen, abs and thighs. And I go, this is the one I hate. So he goes, do it. And I did it like this. He goes, no, pull the hips back. Do this, do that. And I do that. And my abs go, was like, yes, he became like a daddy to me, bro. Each time I go there, he's the first guy I called. 1999, he saw me. He came up to me and he goes, Jamo, I don't like your physique anymore. And I was really hurt by that. And I go, why? He goes, Jamo, you're getting too big. Don't play their game. And he was right, bro. He was right. He goes, Jamo, don't play their game. Stay. You put on too much. I was 245 at the time. When he met me, I was 225 or 227. And he goes, you're playing that game. It's affecting your physique. Your physique is not as beautiful and pleasing like it used to be. Now, if I had to go back and do everything all over again, do you know what I will do? I would have stayed at 94, the shape of 94, 95, and just stay the same body weight and just condition and maturity, because you will look bigger without losing your lines. Someday we will talk about in the future, podcast, and we're going to tell all these people why these bodybuilders are all over the place, why their waist is big, why they're not hard, why they're not shredded. And he was right, man. He was right. You see,
and if you did do that, see, it's because it was a different time. It's really weird with the timing, isn't it? Because if you did maintain the way you looked, you know, you'd be next to Chris Bumstead, probably kicking his ass in the Olympia, right? You would have that extra sort of, 10 pound of muscle on you than what Chris has, but still with those lines.
Yeah. Going back to Chris Bumstead, because a lot of people they were talking to me about it. I said, if you were competing with Chris Bumstead in the classic, you will destroy the line. And I was like, maybe yes, maybe not. But because at the end of the day, you have to take Jamo at his best and take Chris Bumstead at his best.
Yeah. You still would have been a lot bigger than what Bumstead is. You would have been bigger then than what Chris Bumstead is now.
Yeah.
But like Joe Valdez said, the lines that you had at that 225 was like the perfect physique. You had basically the perfect physique. And again, it was like Bob Paris. It was like but you had a better back than Paris. Again, probably he had slightly better quads, but you had a better back than Paris. And from the front, with your arms down by your side from the front, it was like Bob Paris. That's how your physique looked, with your arms down from the front, flexing your abs was like Bob Paris. But your back was better than Bob Paris. His quads are a little better.
I think the biggest problem that I had, not the problem, it's kind of a problem, was like I never thought and appreciated what I had. I was never happy.
You never do, man. You never do.
Dude, seriously, I didn't even know. Now
that's what drove you to get better.
No. Now I look at my physique and I go, shit, man. Freaking hell, I didn't do it there, man. Because at the time, because you compare yourself at who is next to you. Because people are looking at you going like, shit, man, look at him. Because the old days, what do we do? Backstage, I used to fuck with them all. You remember me. When I'm shredded, just because I learned it from Herman Jimenez, who kicked my ass as a light heavy when I got spanked on the stage. And that's the guy that I always thanked when I turned heavyweights. This guy was a freak, dude. He was a freak, man. He was a light heavy. This guy could have weighed. He should have, actually, for me, as far as I'm concerned. Everybody who was watching the British, that's why he retired after that, should have won the British 1992. He was a light heavyweight. He was so granite, so thick. So, dude, he freaking wiped the stage with me, dude. He grabbed my body and wiped the stage with me. Why? Because
what's his name? Who was he? I don't know.
Bro. And I didn't look that bad.
What was his name, Jamo?
Herman Jimenez. He was, dude, this guy was, but then, dude, but here's what happened, bro. You want to hear some of the funny story?
Yeah.
I hope you're not boring people watching. So Herman, I remember I was with Dennis, right? First of all, 91, not 90, 91, because 92 JD won it. 91, I like an idiot. I won the Stars of Tomorrow. The first show, like everybody wins. That JD won, Selwyn, all the top British bodybuilders won. I go there and I clean up overall. I didn't even know I won the overall. I won my class, then I was going home and get to the tube and everybody's calling, hey, they're calling on the stage. Cool, you have to do the overall. I get into the overall, beat everybody. Then my big head, I got so freaking big headed. I was 22, bro, 22, 23. Then we had Ian Harrison is there. He was the guest poser. Ian Harrison is 21. I go up to him and I go, hey, you and me one day. He's like, who the fuck are you, man? Ian Harrison. So I remind him later on. He said, yeah, I remember you were like a freaking cheeky shit, man. I was like, I remember you. Because, man, I look at you now, you're here with us, you know. I loved Ian Harrison. He's such a wonderful guy. So I won that show. My head was so big. I was so big-headed. I thought, that's it. The Olympia. I was like $175, bro. Look at it. And then comes 90, 91. I started training, but Muscle Works. This is how Sav got me Muscle Works. He saw me at the show. He goes, yeah, man, I saw you because I moved to Bethnal Green. I went down to his gym. I didn't know it was his gym. And he was like, you that guy who won the Stars of Tomorrow 2 weeks ago. And I was like, yeah. He goes, look, you can come and train here. You don't have to pay. I sponsor you, but you have to represent my gym. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, that's it. Deal? I said, deal. So I wasn't paying. So now 91 comes in. Muscle Works, Ultra Sport Gym. Muscle Works, me, Dennis, Sav, and somebody else. Sylvester Osborne, big thick arms, you know. We were competing. I go in there, and we knew Ultra Sport and Muscle Works don't like each other. The owners, Muscle Works, Sav doesn't like the other. They're always talking. There's always hate between them two, and everybody's counting on me, and everybody's telling me about this Herman Jimenez, and Herman. And everybody's like, oh, don't worry, you'll do him. Yeah, he's nothing and this and that. And I was like, all right, cool. And I didn't know what he looked like, dude. So I go there. First of all, I didn't gain that much weight because because I was fucking around, not training hard, eating anything. And like 12 weeks before the show, I started getting ready for the show. I was young, stupid, chasing girls, like an idiot, like anybody young, all right? So I get there and I thought I'm ready. And so I see this guy sitting in the corner, dressed he looks like Mike Quinn, dressed in black. First of all, his cheek, they're so freaking, his bones sticking out of his face like that. And his calves, you can see the skin is so thin. And he's just staying in the corner. He didn't say shit to nobody. And then we said, pump up, line up. And he knew who I was, but I didn't know who he was. So we line up, and then I'm posing, thinking I'm going to clean up. And all of a sudden, I hear this voice behind me goes, sorry, mate. And I just turned around, and it was him. And I looked at the mirror, and I looked at Dennis, and Dennis looks at me, and he goes, I was like, what the fuck, man? Look at this. He was over backstage. He was over. He was shredded thick. Dude, he was like, I'm 5'10". He was 5'7". He looks like 200, he looked 220 pounds, dude. He was so shredded. He was so hard. I've never seen a physique like this in my life. Dude, it was an embarrassment on the stage. His gym. Everybody's at me at night going like, oh, you ain't got nothing there, motherfucker. You got nothing. You think you can be? And look, oh, and Muscle Works the other side. They're gonna get into a fight inside the fucking.
You can imagine.
Next day, I step up, go to Muscle Works, go up the stairs. Savage look at me. He goes, "You motherfucker! You embarrassed us. You this, you that."
Oh, really?
Oh, dude, he gave it to me. He goes, from now on, if you're not going to train hard, if you're not going to freaking this, get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
And then I made him a mission. I was like, I promise you, Jihad, this will never happen. I was embarrassed, bro. Dude, you know what I did? For 3 years, I never saw the stage. All I did, eat, train, sleep, and train like a mother. The first thing I did, JD. I looked at JD, I was like, JD, because his form was so bad and sloppy, but he has the intensity. He was an animal. And me, my form was bad, it was so good, isolated, everything. So he told me the intensity, I told him the form.
Yeah.
And Janice came with us. Dude, I put 30 pounds in 3 years. Showed up.
Tell me the form, because I remember it still as well. You know, you're posing and you're training, both of them, when I watched you pose and when I watched you train, again, you did train like the movement, the movement and the precision, the focus on the precision of movement was unusual. Like you didn't see it often, you know. Most bodybuilders would train with at least slightly sloppy form to get that little bit stronger, you know, you break form to get stronger because you're always trying to get stronger to put size on. So you break form, and over our career would break form, and I used to then try and tighten up my form and maintain that extra strength and then go again. Where did that form come from? Do your listeners know your background with dance and so forth? Tell us where that form came from.
Exactly. You got it. I was a dancer. Everything has precision. Everything has.
What sort of dancing? What did you do? What did you do? I'm talking with your clothes on, not at home in front of the mirror in the bedroom. Not that's your business.
My clothes on. My clothes on. Don't tell everybody, man. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? No, I used to be I did ballet, all right, for like 2 years.
Yep.
Then I go into break dancing. But I've always been like art freak. That's why I used to do calligraphy, and attention to details was very important for me. And when I was reading bodybuilding magazines, I always learned that what gets you big is lifting, oscillating without using your joints. But when I went to the gym and I started training, the concept of it came to me faster because I knew that was the most important thing. What I didn't have was the intensity and lifting heavy with form. This is the crazy thing that happened with JD and Dennis when we were training. And I'm going to tell you something that happened at the time. It's crazy. That was discovered 3 months ago by some research analysis of the seated leg curl. You know, they've just found out that the seated leg curl is the number one exercise for hamstrings size. You know,
really seated
leg curl. You stimulate more fibers and activate more fibers on the seated leg curl than the lying leg curl. We discovered that in 1993. Me and JD, and just by pure chance, we were using it. But here's the interesting thing with training with JD was like I had the form, he had the intensity. When we jumped in, I had to really adapt to the heavy weights. He had to adapt to the form. So with form, you cannot handle the same heavy weights. So we had to reprogram everything and take time increasing the weight. I kid you not, bro. And the words of MuscleWorks will be always witnesses to what we were doing there. 4 plates on the seated, 4 plates rowing, 20 reps, 4 sets, barbell rowing, 4 sets, perfect. 5 plates rowing, 10 to 12 reps, perfect. Deadlift, 6 plates, squats, 4 sets, 20 reps, perfect. Leg press, 32 plates total, 12 to 15 reps, perfect. You miss a rep, you get a slap. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But this had to come with the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So, and this is why when I go back to stopping training with JD was the first mistake I made, because I missed the madness. Even when I trained with Dennis was different. He would let me get away with it. JD won't. I remember when JD had a little bit of a fall-in with Ian Wadley. At one point, there was some stupidity. We were all young and stupid, you know. And Ian, I was competing against Ian in the 94. I came second. He won the national. That was the year he won the nationals to turn pro. And Ian Wadley, I remember himself, right? He used to scare me, that dude, bro. He was so freaking huge, bro. I remember backstage when he beat me, he came up to me and shook my hand. He goes, "Look at me when I talk to you." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Jamo, you look good, bro. You beat me fair and square. I don't deserve winning this show."
Wow.
It was, you look freaking hell. Ian Wadley was a freaking man and a half. I trained with him, dude. He 5 plates, 15, 20 reps on the squat. and farting in the middle of the set, and I puked my guts out in front of him. It's freaking crazy. I could tell you stories about it. But if you want to go back to the form and the training, your body adapts to the stress. I remember, and people can talk about anything. I think we used to do a lot of volume, bro. And I think volume gets you what you want. If you just eat, train, and sleep, it's a lot of volume, a lot of conditioning. I remember we used to just use like free weights, not too much freaking hammer strength bullshit. And I truly believe people say, yeah, there's not a difference between using hammer strength machine and free weight. Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course, you're going to recruit more fibers.
You're going to recruit more fibers, bro. You're going to
have to at least to stabilize, you know, so at least to stabilize the stabilizing muscles as well as the prime movers. Yeah, it's interesting, the volume thing, isn't it? I mean, that's where, and we found out what worked in the gym. That's how we always found out. So that's where it's so nice when you know, because we can look at the research. We're old enough now to look at the research and understand the research. But the beauty we have is we're lucky enough to have the experience and have gone through things. We have the anecdotal evidence. Like you say, we found out what worked. We had the anecdotal evidence. There was enough of us in the gym doing similar sort of stuff and getting a similar result where we realized what worked and what didn't work, both with training and nutritionally. So science these days, you know, the trials that they do with the science, we can pick holes in a lot of it, but the good trials really show what we found out in the gym over decades of doing it, right? Because we were mindful with what we were doing, because we were measuring our strength performance, because we were measuring our body composition and how much we were growing. And we'd measure it basically year after year with competition, what our body weight was at that lean percentage of body fat. So we worked out what worked in the gym anecdotally for us and with the other bodybuilders around us. So to have that along with the science is it really sets you apart from other trainers. Not that I'm a trainer, but with you, Jama, and the information that you put out with your listeners, a lot of them, you put up clips now and then of the old days, but as you're talking now, they don't really understand what it means to go to complete muscular failure with the form. Unless they watch, I mean, Dorian's workouts were very well publicized. So he was a master at form with the intensity as well. So he had the same thing. Great. His intensity was a different level though. And he just could not do the volume with that level of intensity. So different way to do it. But I mean, he developed and built a maximum amount of muscle mass with that low volume of training. So it's like, where is that sweet spot between volume versus simple load with a lesser volume? Where is the sweet spot? You know, and it's a fair question. And I think the answer to that is it changes. It changes all the time. It changes. Your body adapts. Your body adapts to that volume. So you might have to shock it with some really heavy work, some really heavy giant sets, some double trisets, some supersets. You know, you have to make it adapt in other ways because you just can't keep adding another set, another exercise, more volume. That's not going to, it's going to get to a point where it becomes muscular endurance. Mm-hmm. There has to be a certain amount of volume. But then when it starts to become muscular endurance, that's not the best for muscle hypertrophy. That's for conditioning and for muscle endurance specifically. And then, where is the balance? And I think the answer to that is the balance keeps changing because the body gets so good at adapting.
But also, isolation is the main factor if you want to really get the hypertrophy that you're looking for. Because when you're talking about,
you don't mean isolation exercises. You mean really
muscle isolation, not isolation exercises. Because isolating muscles and using your joints is completely different. Because when you contract a muscle, he has to do 100% of the work. You cannot bring other body parts into it. You cannot bring your joints into it. Because what helped me in England with the weight was the fact that it took us a long time to warm up. Here's why, because it was very cold. And we knew if we were using our joints and we knew when we are using our muscles. Muscle isolation, you know, isolating your muscles is the first thing you do. This is what you say, right? Isolating. Like isolation musculaire. So look at the difference between the French and the English.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So no, it's not. Actually, English is faster and easier. So everything is into isolating your muscles and get them to do the job, because as you know, a muscle doesn't know the difference between 20 pounds and a pound. You know one thing. Stress, adaptation, growth, stagnation. Adapt. Yes. As soon as adapt, you gotta freaking stress him more. Otherwise, you stay where you are. So going back to the training we used to do, he was never comfortable with us. I remember like today, he was never comfortable like with us. Or he was like some crazy stuff. Here's an example. I remember like today, there was this guy, his name is Richard, Big Rick. And he had the most craziest physique. This guy could have gone to Olympia, but his problem was his mind. Here, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. He saw me stripped 2 weeks before the British. He was doing a qualify with me. He picked up his bag and left home. Where you going? Come back. And he was my competition. He goes, no, I can't compete against him. He's looking too good. He's going to beat me. I can't deal with this. I got to go home. And we're calling him. I'm calling him. So come on, man, stop being an idiot. We all used to train together. But this guy, he never lifted more than 3 plates on the bench, on the incline bench press. And he was huge. That tells you something. It's not about the weight. It's about isolating your muscles and just working them and stressing the fuck out of them until they respond. They get comfortable, they're not gonna respond. Like example, I couldn't do the training with Dorian Yates. I trained with him, man. I could not do what he did. I had to add another set. For example, what he did, we used to warm up 4 sets the first exercise, right? So he will do that. And then we move to the second exercise. We'll do 1 to change the angle of work and 1 to failure. 1 to change the angle of work, 1 to failure. I had to do 2 before moving to the failure one. I couldn't do because of my genetics, my bones. You know, he's got thick freaking joints. He's freaking huge, the guy, man. I can tell you a story about training with Dorian, and we'd be here all day. But I don't want to just talk about me. I want to talk about you, because how did you evolve training? I mean, I know you did a lot of volume, right?
No, well, again, for me, I think a lot of bodybuilders are influenced by the current Mr. Olympia at that point in time with regards to their training and the style of training. And for me, you know, wanting to be a world champion and a Mr. Universe title winner, I wanted to be the best I could be. I modeled Dorian's training to a large degree. I trained like that for many, many years. Really? Yeah, I did for many years. When I first came to City Gym, when we met, I was training with Charlie Duca. He won 3 NABA World.
Yeah, he was doing the Mike Mensa. He was doing the Mike Mensa system, yeah.
That was really, I think that was a lot of my influence. Charlie trained with some great bodybuilders throughout Europe. You know, being from Malta, he trained with some great bodybuilders and trained with John Citroni in the UK. And Johnny trained more volume. So he did every style of training. He's an interesting guy as well.
Very smart. I like him.
Yeah. But for me, I probably trained like Dorian pretty solid for maybe 5 years. That's how I trained. I would train. First exercise, would be sort of 3, 4 warm-up sets. And the warm-up sets would get heavier. So I was getting my muscles ready, but my nervous system as well, to do such a crazy set to failure. So I used to do, that was something, I'm a bit crazy. You know, as a kid, I was pretty extreme. I was a pretty angry kid growing up. And I had this extreme thing inside of me. And so I could train like that. I could take a set to failure and beyond using force reps, using drop sets, using whatever it is I had to use. But what would happen is when I do that working set, as long as I believed and I measured it was better than last week's incline dumbbell press, let's say, if I'm starting with incline dumbbell press, as long as I did an extra rep than last week, done, good, that set's done. I move on then to the next exercise. If I couldn't quite hit what I did last week, then I'd add another set. So I'd put the volume up. So I know I'd increase the load in another way. That is basically with more volume. So that's how I used to structure it. So I was pretty much along the lines of what Dorian did. But if that working set wasn't better than last week, rather than walk out the gym and say that was a failed workout, I would then do another working set as hard as I possibly could.
So you did 2 instead of 1?
I did 2 instead of 1 if that first one didn't beat last week's performance.
Didn't do it. I got you.
Yeah, if I could beat last week's performance, if I did, say, 7 reps instead of 6 on 140-pound dumbbells, if I did 7 this week instead of 6 last week, done. 1 set done. Move on to the flat.
Did you used to write everything?
Yeah, I used to document everything. So I'd write down what I wanted to do before I trained. I'd write down the set, the weight, and I'd write down the amount of reps. And it'd always be 1 more rep than last week, or it'd be an extra 2 kilos than last week for the same amount of reps. So it was always about progressive overload, because ultimately this is what builds muscle. So that's how I used to train for many, many, many years.
So you have progressive overload. Sorry to interrupt you while we're on the subject of progressive overload. You have progressive overload, and you have a lot of metabolic stress too. You have two ways. And stress on the central nervous system. That was the extreme stress on the central nervous system. Exactly. Well, this is what brings me to I teach coaches to become better coaches. I do like for people. And in the last 4 years, the stuff that I learned in like muscle hypertrophy, using a training system is just incredible. We share it with people, and I'll share it in this YouTube channel with time. The stuff that I discovered where you can keep making gains without stressing your nervous system or your joints, or deloading for the recovery of.
Well, this is what we evolved to. So I evolved my training the last few years of my competitive career. I evolved it. Yeah. So that was one style of training, that high intensity Mensa Dorian style training. Right. That was one form of training that I'd do for 3 or 4 week blocks.
Right.
And then I'd move into a different style of training for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And I say 3 to 4 weeks because if I was still progressing on week 4 and not plateauing with my strength performance, then I'd give it a 4th week. But oftentimes, as you get more evolved with your training, you adapt. The more elite you get as an athlete, your body adapts almost weekly to a style of training. But I used to find 3 to 4 week blocks was about right for me. So I'd do double trisets for 3 to 4 weeks. I would do Dorian style for 3 to 4 weeks. And then I'd do the old pyramiding for 3 to 4 weeks with a greater volume, 3 to 4 weeks. And then I would do pyramiding at a greater volume again for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So I was getting, I think I was... I was developing muscle growth through the hypertrophy, the myofibril hypertrophy, plus the volume. Sarcoplasmic, yeah, the intracellular.
Yeah.
So it was the volume. It was the volume more so that increased the sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, but it was that heavy high intensity that really increased the myofibril hypertrophy. So a blend of both works. It's nice to get it into a system, a measurable system. It's great to do that. So I did that in the end. The last few years of my bodybuilding career, I had a measurable system, and that is each system that I used, each 3 to 4 week block that I used, I measured it. I measured it for performance, for strength performance, as long as I was getting stronger. And if I wasn't getting stronger, I'd do that little bit more volume. So, but it was measurable. Harder to measure when you're doing drop sets and giant sets, and harder to measure your strength performance, but there was still a way that I could measure it and make sure that I was overloading.
But I think 4 weeks is too short, because you need 3 weeks to adapt, and then 3 weeks for response, from what I've been seeing. And
well, it depends on the individual, Jamo, and how advanced the individual is.
That too. What's the biggest you've ever been?
About 105 kilo in the off season, and I guess
shredded, right?
But I'm only 5'6". No, man, no. I'm only 5'6".
Yeah.
So I'm not the tallest guy around. So I used to get 105 was my heaviest in the off season.
That's 220 plus 10, 230.
Yeah. But I'm 5'6". So I was big at that. I felt big. I felt heavy, dude, at that. I felt too big at that, to be honest. But my heaviest on stage was about 90 kilo. On stage shredded.
Big for your size, dude.
6.
Universe, right?
Universe 2002 was at my biggest. And that's when I was using less gear in 2002 that I'd used before. I was using less, but training with this style of system. And I think I was getting better results because I was.
I think taking too much juice doesn't do shit for you, man. People think they're getting point on size. I think all you're doing is stressing your organs. That's the first thing. You just messing up all your hormonal system. I think from a little bit, you can get a lot because of the recovery. If I had to do it all over again, even that we didn't consume a lot of shit compared to what people are doing today, I would have done exactly the same thing. Take less, take 6 months off, like what Cable Ron was doing, but keep training. Cable Ron didn't train. Keep training natural and just stay healthy during the whole month. And then because if you don't take juice for 6 months and train natural, and then you take juice for 3 months, you will put on some serious size. I am telling you, because your body will recover and you can respond pretty well, better than when you are on the juice all year round. Most people do that. And this is what brings me to what's going on with the world of bodybuilding right now. Who is your favorite bodybuilder right now?
Jamo, to be brutally honest, I don't follow it very much. But the guys that I see, I guess the guys with the who would it be? I mean, he's got a few missing points and his delts are getting messy now. Again, he's trying to play the size game. Hardy Chupan. I liked Hardy when he first competed.
He's injecting he doesn't need to do that. He's injecting his freaking shoulders and he doesn't need to do that.
Again, he's ruining his physique, but his first Olympia, I was like, wow, this guy's great. You know, the conditioning and
that's a good example of to put in too much size. He's becoming like a box now. And he didn't need to do that. Just come back, just streamlined, just don't play their games coming bigger because you're going to look like a
No one's going to touch you. No one's going to touch you bringing those lines and that conditioning. No one's going to touch you with that. They can't, none of the other guys can bring the conditioning. They can't bring that conditioning. That's what's going to set you apart. Jamo, true story, I realized this very early on, and I realized it when I used to go to the NABA universe, was when you stand in a big lineup of 20 competitors, because a local show, you might get 2, 3, 4 competitors, 5 competitors. When you go to an international show, or back then, and there was 20 to 25 competitors in my lineup at the Mr. Universe contest, everyone at that point in time who competed with NABA were their country's best. On that day, they were sent there on their national team as their country's best. When you would, and I got this when I started scanning, when I was sitting in the crowd, I'd be scanning. First, when 20 or 25 guys walk out, you'll scan across as a judge or even as an enthusiast. You'll scan across. Oh, he's hard. Oh, geez, he's hard. Oh, gee, he's hard. It's very, very rare to scan across and go, wow, he's big. It's very rare that a competitor is so much bigger than all the others stand out, Jamo.
Because the hard looks bigger.
Yeah, and the most impressive.
Yeah.
And there's only, Jamo, these days, even back then in the NABA universe, I remember the tops, it was such a big lineup and it was overwhelming when you'd look down the lineup and see 20 or 25 guys. It was overwhelming. But something I learned very quickly, the top 6, there was only ever 6 guys that were really, really in shape back then. Now there's probably 2 or 3 that are really, really in shape with the current drugs and everything that they're using, right? There's 2 or 3 that are in shape, maybe. Back then there was like 6 guys in shape. So I knew if I came in great condition, I'd at least be in the finals. I always say to competitors that are new, as long as you come in shape, you just get shredded. Forget about the scales. You get shredded. As long as you get in shape, you've got a chance of winning. If you're not in shape, you've got no chance of winning. If you're not really in condition, you will not win. And of course, with bodybuilding competition, it's not the guy with the freaky body parts that wins. It's not the biggest guy. It's not the guy with the freakiest body parts that wins. It's the guy with the least amount of weaknesses that wins. So when I'm talking weaknesses, the criteria is, yes, size is one of the criteria, but it's only one. Then you've got conditioning is a big part of the criteria. Then you've got shape and overall structure. Then you've got symmetry and separation. And then you've got the posing and presentation. So if you give the judges everything, give them all of those,
you win.
You can win. You'll win. You'll probably win. You give them all of those, you'll win. If you give them no weaknesses, that's the guy that wins the competition. Always has been, always will be. See, Hardy's got a few weaknesses. His hammies, his calves, got a couple of weaknesses there. But dude, he plays top 3 in the Mr. Olympia at 5'5" or 6, whatever he is. It's phenomenal. That first year.
Who do you think is going to be the next Mr. Olympia?
Again, I don't follow it closely enough. I see pics of Nick Walker, and I mean that's the standard. Rami's the standard. They want the size. I mean, and let's
Rami could
he's got the shape. He's got the structure. He's got that shape and structure, Jamo. He's got it, and he has worked on improving his physique, which wasn't more size.
Rami,
yeah.
He looks working out. No, sorry. Rami, to me personally, we just being honest, in my opinion, who gives a shit about my opinion. And if you take his physique now and his physique when he won the New York Pro for the first time, dude, it's a whole different physiques. That physique could win the Olympia 10 times now.
Yeah.
I think
so that conditioning, tell me, Jamo, tell me this. I mean, we were pretty good. Like, I used to hit my conditioning pretty much every show. Pretty much every show. So many of the pros, Flex Wheeler, God bless him, is and you know him personally, and you know when he did this, so many of the pros nail their condition, really nail it once. Really nail it. So many.
Even me. I think me twice.
Why?
I because here's why. 94 was my best.
Because you're saying Rami, sorry to interrupt again. So Rami hit it at
Rami, and I tell you about the condition. Remind me of the condition. Why? Rami, the reason he lost his physique is because of giving his body to the Kuwaitis and juking him with every drug in sight. They disproportioned his physique completely. The condition, as you know, they're using too much insulin. So if you use too much insulin, you will lose details, sharpness. You just buck every physique that comes out of that gym.
He started on the insulin. He started on that.
That is so. And do you know who told them all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who, right? Dennis James, and he learned it from Milos Sarcev, and then they had a fight, and now he's so happy that he's got him back with him, and he's getting. I say when he's with him, I just look at Dennis James and I go, yeah, all right, I know why you're happy right now, because you probably do them now. Now I'm going to show you what I can do with this guy. They didn't need to do all this with him. At the end of the day, I think this year at the Olympia, if you saw him, he wasn't as good as last year because he didn't train most of the year, apparently, so they say. You could see in the maturity of the muscle, he needs to be more mature, and even that he won because he was the best guy on the day. If he doesn't change his act and he doesn't train all year round, he would lose that title to someone like Nick Walker. And then Nick Walker will come in. I'm not a big fan of his physique. So a lot of people like his physique, but then this is open. Nobody gives a shit about open anymore. That open is dying. It's going to be just freaks, big, huge dudes. Nobody gives a shit anymore about the open. Everybody's going where? Classic physique. Classic physique, I truly believe with Arnold, they just increased the price of the classic physique to $60,000 for the first, or $30,000 or $60,000 for the first prize money.
Okay, as opposed to what, 400, isn't it, for bodybuilding?
$50,000. First place win, a classic physique, he gets $60,000. Olympia.
Gets, what about bodybuilding? What does the bodybuilding winner get?
So 175, I think.
The Arnold, not the Olympia. What does the Olympia get?
175, I think. 175, 140.
What does Bumstead get to win the Olympia? Do you know? What's the prize money for?
30 grand, I think. 30,000.
And bodybuilding is 400 for the Olympia, isn't it?
Yeah. But that doesn't matter now. Eventually they're gonna catch up, because at the end of the day is how much money they're gonna bring in. And also the guys are getting too big. Now the judges, they don't know what the F they want. They're just going for the big size or the most popular guy on Instagram, and how much, because if you look at the physiques right now, if you look at all the physiques that I see in front of me, apart from Regan Grimes, who has a beautiful, nice physique.
Yeah.
You have that guy, Samson from England, Samson Londa or something like that, beautiful physique. You have the Brazilian guy, I don't know what's his name.
Yes, he's got a nice physique. Is he still around?
Yeah,
that was the guy that I like. I saw him. I haven't been watching it much, Jam, I've got to say, but that Brazilian guy I watched maybe 4 or 5 years ago, he came on the scene.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Brandon, something.
Yes, yeah, him.
We'll talk about this guy. We need to do a lot of research to catch up.
I haven't been watching it. And there was another guy. There was a black American guy that got around about 10th. Beautiful physique, small waist, beautiful.
Yeah, he's not gonna go anywhere. That guy, because his legs are weak. What's his name?
Yeah, they're too weak. Yeah, the legs are too
weak. You have to excuse us, guys. We forgot the names, but we'll do our research next time and be ready for you guys. But going back to all this, apart from these guys, I think the other guys, I don't see anybody. Rolly Winkler, it's the end. He's got out. Little brother son. He's got good, okay physique, but he's not his dad. He's got a pec tear that is getting worse and worse. You can see, like me, and I was like, but he fixed it. But he still look at it. If someone look at his physique, I look at that pec tear. That's the reason why I was paranoid with my pec tear. Once you have the pec tear, it's the end, bro. It's over. I mean, he got third at Olympia or fourth, whatever. Still, with fourth. But I think eventually, with time, that's going to be tough on him. He'll be in the top 5, 4. But he will never. I'm not gonna say never, but I think he will win more pro shows. But apart from that, there's no one. I don't see anybody. All these guys, they're like talking about them. This guy. If they were in our days, they wouldn't even make the top 10, bro. They're 10, they would make it. They'd be 9th, 10th. But the rest, forget about it. We'll be talking about that.
I mean, if they rock up at the Nationals looking like that, they blow everybody away. And the judges, just coming in shape, you're going to do great, but you've got to get in shape. That's what they would have been told in our day, rocking up to the Nationals like that.
Yeah, but for now, by the look of it, it's more money, business, big dude, the followers. I think they're heading that way. And I think the classic physique is a much more pleasing physique to look at. The open is becoming just crazy, bro. It's like, I don't enjoy it. What's the Australian boy? Your Australian boy, what's his name? The big dude.
Josh Lenardowitz.
Is he coming? He's making a comeback, right?
Don't know, Jamo. I don't know.
I saw some videos of him training in his garage, I think, on Instagram or something. He
probably would have been, because Melbourne has been locked down so much over the last 2 years. But probably was his garage,
Yeah, he was training there, making a comeback and talking and everything. But that's a big dude. But with what's going on now, he's gonna have to earn his placing back up. And that's gonna take a long time, because he's not new. He's old school kind of. He's been there for a while now. He's gonna have to fight all these youngsters. They gain all the attention, and it's gonna be like just freaking. This is where they don't understand these pro bodybuilders, all right? And if they're watching me, guys, don't take it personal. And again, who gives a shit about my opinion? You will get your time. It's a short window. It's a small window. This is where you have to milk it, because unless you freaking Dexter Jackson, who was a freak, once you make the best out of it right there, compete 5 years, solid, make your money, get the fuck out. Because after that, you'll be just destroying your physique with drugs, and you're gonna fade away like everybody. Everybody.
Like everyone. We've seen it happen. That's what happens.
Look,
that's what happens. You cannot keep using that amount of drugs.
Happened to what's his name, Rolly Winkler. Happened to many. They just fade away. Somebody, look at somebody towards the end, how he was. Paul Dillett, freaking Greg Kovac. They all just wait and wait. Even Flex Wheeler, even
Rich Gaspari would be in really good.
You have that window, milk it, make your business, take the money and just leave. Stay healthy. Stay healthy. Why are you going back there, hurting your body, taking more drugs just to place 10th and 11th? Leave on a high. Live on a high, like Josh Costanza said it. I live. You just live on a high. Dude, it's the truth, man. This is
the truth. But this is why, as well, when you're doing your bodybuilding, you need something outside of bodybuilding to pull back on what you said at the start. You need that. So if you can integrate the two, if you can integrate, whether it's personal training, whether it's a gym chain, whether it's exercise equipment, who was one of the best guys that capitalized on his bodybuilding that I watched, really capitalized on his bodybuilding competitive career, had an endorsement for gloves, gym equipment, gym chain.
Jay Cutler.
Before Jay Cutler.
Little brother.
Close. He was right next to him.
Don't tell me. He was a pro, right?
Oh, yeah, he can talk the ear off a donkey. He just talks and talks. Good-looking boy.
English or American?
American.
Oh shit! Well, Jay Cutler. It was in the 90s.
Oh, who was the guy who was the most sponsored guy? He was competing with Haney, and then with Dorian, was going head to head with Dorian, but 5'6", small structure, perfect physique, beautiful physique.
Lee Labrada. No?
Close. Next to who stood next to Lee Labrada at the same height, but was black.
He was black. This guy is black.
You're gonna kick yourself. So this guy has made money out of bodybuilding. First guy to really make money out of bodybuilding.
Vince Taylor.
No, you're gonna kick yourself. He's the first guy to really make money out of bodybuilding. Nice homes, had all the cars, but has the money. He's like a bodybuilding presenter now, MC shows and.
Sean Ray, the freaking Shawnee. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a long time coming.
Sean Ray, but Sean, you know why Sean is like this now? He's the most hated guy. Bodybuilder, like everybody hates him.
He's tight as a fish's bum, isn't he? No, so tight with his money.
He just freaking said that he's just made it worse for himself. He just accused freaking the late Sean Roden for taking recreational drugs. Well, it wasn't the case. When he died live, and they all lost him. Everybody just wants to beat him up. Now they don't want him in front. He's making so many enemies. The kid of Sergio Oliva's son, what's his name? Sergio Oliva's son. Sergio Oliva's Jr. Yeah. He wished him death on the podcast that they did with Dave Palumbo. And you know Dave Palumbo, he would do anything just to get views. Dave Palumbo. Palumbo is, I'm about views. I don't give a shit. Gonna get views. I gotta make my money. He loves making his money. If he's watching me, he's watching. You love making your money. And he's just. Look. Sean Ray, as far as I'm concerned, even that we spoke once on the phone, I don't know what, but we knew of each other. Obviously, he knew that because I know he was a big fan of my physique, but I never got the chance to talk to him personally and see him. But Sean is Sean, you know. Sean had to take care of Sean when he was competing. He was selfish, and at one point, I understood him why he had to be like that, because if he didn't take care of himself, no one was going to take care of him, not the weirdest.
He realized that.
He realized,
you would think that he was living the dream of fame and fortune.
Yeah.
And he probably thought at the start that's what it was going to be, but he soon worked it out that the only way it was going to be fame and fortune is if he hustled and did guest posing, guest appearances, seminars, had endorsements. And he tried to expose that to the other bodybuilders. He tried to be what he was the bodybuilders rep, the athletes rep, like he's.
Yeah, but they didn't want him because of his big mouth, and they didn't care about what he always used to complain a lot. And I understand why he was complaining a lot, because his frustration for not winning the Olympia. Until now, he's still bitter about not winning the Olympia, and it shows in his work. It shows of his way of dealing with people, and even his buddies, like even freaking Flex, Kevin Lavron, Dexter Jackson, Paul Dillett, they still had a lot of running with him, but they still like him. He's still their buddy. They accepted him as the annoying, frugal, tight, disrespectful, speak the truth, Sean Ray, and they just ignore him. But the new generation now, that because he has to keep making his money, so obviously he has to talk. He wants to be controversial. He wants to be heard. So he would say anything stupid sometimes without even thinking. And then he makes more freaking enemies. Sometimes he'll be sitting in his corner and they're not giving him attention, and all of a sudden he will pick on somebody, any pro, and talk shit about them just to get the attention. He has to have the attention. He's like that little whore with a mini skirt who wants her skirt up all the time. No, who wants to, but she keeps it down. And all of a sudden, if she sees a guy, she goes like, "Hey, look at me." Do you know what I mean? No, Sean Ray is like that. If he's gonna watch this, I don't care. But this is what I think of Sean Ray. But he's harmless. But he's just got that mouth on him, and that mouth gets him into trouble all the time.
Yeah, he can't shut up.
You know what I mean? So
doesn't know when to.
But so look, I want to stop here because we could go on for hours and hours. So thank you for the first one, bro. We're gonna do more. Okay.
Pleasure, bro. Pleasure.
So maybe we can keep it once a week. Next time we're gonna choose our subject, and we help them in nutrition training. The Arnold Classic is coming up, so I want to do like I will do the research on the placement, what we think of the physiques. But the next one, I think we should talk about supplementation.
I'd like to, Jama. I'd like to give your listeners something of value that they can take away and use. You know, I think even today, a couple of points of you know, have something to fall back on outside of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding should improve your life.
Oh yeah.
As soon as your bodybuilding is not improving your life, it's time to reassess how you're going about it, your training and nutrition. But yeah, I think next time I'd love to at least give your listeners some good basic protocols, like what supplements do I use? You walk into a supplement store, there's hundreds, there's thousands of different product lines and different categories now. What do I use? Do I use pre-workout? Do I use intra-workout? Do I use post-workout? Should I be supplementing carbohydrates, or should I just use protein post-workout? Is it beneficial to use casein at night? Do test boosters really work? Do fat burners work? Like, you know, what I'd love to give your listeners some good basic protocols on where to start with supplementation. What works? Where you're going to get a good bang for your buck? What's going to be beneficial?
I think that's a great idea. So what we're going to do next week is talk about supplementation. Okay.
Yep.
And the week after, we get into the science of training, and then we'll start doing Olympia, Arnold Classic, talk about physiques, because people like all these shows and everything. Give them our opinion, who's going to come first, what we think, why. So we'll take the physiques and we just analyze them one by one. I'll ask your opinion, you ask my opinion, and we share it with them. I'm going to start, I'm going to start doing some, the stuff that I used to do in the French channel, I'm going to bring it here too. So most of the stuff I did over there, I'm just going to translate it and just do it here. And I'm going to start do body analysis. It's crazy cool thing that I do when I go really into the detail of the anatomy of every bodybuilder and how he is put together and the title he won, how his best body parts against his weak body parts, how he trained, and then how he ate. And I talk a little bit about the character if I met him, and what made him who he is. And I think this is going to be a great idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I have a lot. So let's just we'll have fun with everybody, okay?
Yes.
And we talk about everything and anything, okay? Just to share with them how we react to things, business, relationships, everything. So I want to thank you for taking the time of being here with me, Nick Jones, the thunder from down under is back here at the J Core, the J Core platform. So thanks, man. And I'll see you next week.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, bro. My pleasure always.
You got it. Take care.
Take care, everybody.